This is the video for how to make a good game, our next assignment. So this essay is basically going to be sort of a mixture of opinion and demonstration. So just a bit of an overview. We all play games, be it video games, phone games, card games, board games, etc. And we've probably played some good games and some bad games. So what's the difference? This essay is for you to describe what would make a game perfect in your opinion. You're not trying to create the perfect game for everyone. That would be impossible because everyone has a different opinion about what makes a good game. Just focus on what you would look for in a good game and what would make it a game that you would want to play. Okay? So in the last one we were dealing with music. This one we're going to be dealing with games. So, just think about the kinds of games that you play. Okay? And that's what I want in your introduction is just what kind of games do you play? Okay? Are you a video gamer? Do you just play games on your phone? Are you a board gamer? Are you a D&D player? Like, what kind of game player are you? What do you like to do in terms of playing games? And then you'll make a claim about what you think makes a game good. Okay? And that's your claim, and you're going to go through and give examples of how of games that have these sorts of things that you're saying make a game good, and that's just what you're trying to do. So for the evidence for that claim, because you have to have evidence, you're going to use 5 or more examples of games that have good features. Okay? And keep in mind that you may think, well, it's obvious what makes a good game. But, keep in mind that not everybody's going to like the same games. Even if it's a very popular kind of game, it's not going to be for everybody. I am not a video gamer, okay? Anything that requires hand-eye coordination, I'm out. The most video game I can play is Lego video games on the Xbox, and that's just because you can't die, So there's not really, negative consequences to not having any hand-eye coordination. So you'll give examples of games that have good features. Your organization will be, the features in order of importance. You could do most important to least important, or you could do least important to most important. That organization is a little bit up to you, but you want to think about, do you want to start with the small stuff and get into the bigger stuff later? Or do you want to start with the biggest stuff and then get into the details and small things? It just depends on how you want your reader to understand it. Your audience is maybe gaming companies or other gamers, people who might benefit from, understanding what your preferences are and, that might relate to those preferences. So, for this one, I want your language to be slightly formal. Try to have a little bit of a professional tone with, a little bit of personal flair. You don't want to be too formal, right? We're talking about games here. So it doesn't need to be really, really formal. But it can be a little bit formal, it can be sort of include your personality, This is an opinion piece, so you are the star, basically. And then you'll have your conclusion. What could a company that makes games do to make better games? Is there a particular game that you think embodies all or most of the features that you highlight? You know, just try to go through and, you know, say, hey, game makers, here's what you can do to make a good game. Like, this is what's gonna be really good for gamers like me. For gamers like me, here's how to make a better game. So you'll have to start by picking out what features you think make gameplay particularly fun, interesting, and enjoyable for you. For each feature, you'll need to use one or more games as examples of that feature. So the features could be things like, you know, principles like level of competitiveness, luck versus skill ratio, you know, how much luck does it take versus how much skill, pace and speed, brain power, etc. So, like, I like non-competitive games that have a little bit of luck but mostly skill, and that work at a slower pace and require more brain power. You know, those are the principles of what I think makes a good game. But you may be different, because you may love, you know, fast-paced games and lots of competitiveness and, you know, like, you know, just very little brain power, or maybe, you know, just like shoot 'em up sort of things, you know, and that's fine too. You know, so I would be talking to gamers like me. You're going to be talking to gamers like you. You're going to be talking about gamers like you. So you could also have features that have to do with genre. So like shooters, puzzles, arcade, adventure, those sorts of things, you know. So, you know, if you are really into shooters, then you can talk about that as a game feature, that you think that shooters are the height of, you know, of gameplay. And it can also be aesthetics. Things like the graphics, you know, better graphics, attention to detail, storyline, etc. So, like, I don't really care that much about graphics. You know, better graphics is always a plus, but it's not a top priority for me. You know, attention to detail is important to me, and storyline are important to me. But, you know, like, so you just have to figure out, like, what features you like, or anything else you want. These are just examples of things that you can be talking about. And you can start by thinking about what games you love and what they have in common with each other. You know, what games do you like? What do they have in common? And start there. For instance, I like games that are non-combative, require me to use my brain a lot, with puzzles and a good story. I don't care much for games that are too fast or force me to win by taking from others. It just makes me feel bad. You know, my favorite type of game is the cooperative board game, you know. It's very, you know, thought-based and, you know, puzzle-based, and very, you work with each other. You know, I would probably use this combination of games as my examples. There's a board game called Horrified, which is my absolute favorite. It's a cooperative board game. X-Men Mutant Insurrection is another board game that I would use. It's also a cooperative board game. Both where you fight, you know, enemies that sort of, you know, are in the game but aren't played by other characters, or aren't played by other players. I would use the computer game Siberia to talk about, like, puzzles and slower paced games. The iPad games Hungry Cat Picross, which is a puzzle game, and Adventure Escape Mysteries, which is like an escape room puzzle game. You know, because those are the games that I like, you know, and have the features that I like, and show those features. Now, because I'm me, I would pick games that show what a good game should look like, because I like to have, I like to focus on the good. But you may find that you want to choose examples to show what a bad game looks like, to tell people what they should avoid when designing a game. You can also have, games that show good aspects and games that show bad aspects. You can mix and match. So, you choose whatever is going to work best for your argument about what makes a good game, and, just go from there. You may want to just dig into a specific kind of game rather than different kinds of games. If it were me, I would have like games from different, board games and puzzle games and iPad games and stuff like that. But you might want to focus on a specific kind of game, especially if you really only play one kind of game. So you could dig into a specific sort of game. I could write a whole essay on what makes a good or bad crossword iPad app, because that's the kind of nerd I am. But you may be able to write a whole essay on what makes a good versus bad Call of Duty game, okay? And that's acceptable. You could be talking about like, hey, this Call of Duty game has these features and I really like this one, and this one. And this other one has these other features and I like this one and I hate this one, and kind of going through and comparing them to sort of really dig into the specifics. And that's fine too. It's completely, entirely up to you how you want to do this. So there's a lot of room for, movement. There's a lot of room for you to play around with it and to choose exactly what you want to do with it. But, just try to, again, the whole point is just that you're trying to demonstrate like how to make a good game, and how to, by putting together the features that you think make a good game, okay? To talk about if you want to get players like me to play your game, here's what you should be doing, gaming companies. Or here's the kinds of games you should be looking for, fellow gamers. And that's sort of what you want to do with it, okay? So it's a fairly simple concept that I think will be a little more challenging once you get into it, but it is still based mostly on your opinion and your, what you like, and so I hope you have fun with this, okay? So let me know if you have any questions, please. I am happy to answer any questions you might have. If you want to float ideas past me, I'm fine with that too, But you're just, basically just trying to answer the question, what makes a game good, So keep that in mind as you write. The pre-draft is going to be due, on Sunday at midnight. Or no, that's something different. Sorry. So the pre-draft will be due sorry, I have a mistake in my calendar. Anyway, so I'm gonna have it the first draft be due this Sunday at midnight. Oh, there it is. Sorry. So this Sunday at midnight, the pre-draft is due. The first draft is due next Sunday at midnight, and then the final-ish draft due the next week. Remember that when you're submitting pre-drafts, that you have to comment on other people's pre-drafts as well. And same for first drafts. The final-ish draft will be commented on by me. If you haven't already, you do still need to submit the Autobiography in 6 Songs final-ish draft. That was due last Sunday at midnight, yesterday, for me. And so just be sort of, if you haven't submitted that, you have 2 weeks from Sunday to do that, from last Sunday, to do that and still get feedback from me. If you don't submit it within 2 weeks of now, then I'll still take it, I'll still put points in for it, but I'm not going to put comments on it, which is something you probably want me to do. So get that to me as soon as you can, and make sure that you're keeping up with the readings and all of that. But that's all I have for you today. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.